Lunch Group was originally an over 50s lunch club, and we removed the over 50s out of the title because you haven't got to be over 50 to feel lonely and isolated. So we took the view that it's open to anybody. Unfortunately, funding from Notts County Council seems to centre on either young people or over 50, which is fine because we keep all the records. So if we know we've got 35 people a week and 3 of them are under 50, we'll just take those out of the statistics. The funding itself has reduced year on year from Notts County Council to the point where we are now subsidising the lunch group quite heavily every single week. And we do that by an element of the room hire costs for the rest of the building and the rest of the week that then subsidises the lunch group. As an accountant, I'd be quite happy to, as if I was a traditional accountant, shut the lunch group, it's losing money, let's rent the hall out. But that would not fit our charitable aims and objectives for the people that come into the lunch group. And the lunch group seems to consist of people primarily over 50. That doesn't mean to say that we've not had people under 50, but a lot of under 50 people are not that interested in playing cards, bingo and everything else. And there seems to be a gap between those who really need a lot of care that couldn't come because we're not a daycare service, and those who have got plenty of family and friends to keep them occupied and they're not feeling lonely and isolated at home. These that are here really enjoy being here because they're mixing with people, their own peers, but they fall between those two groups. So it's an important facet in their lives, in that they know that if they don't turn up, we make contact with them to make sure that they're okay. And in terms of where they come from, we don't advertise. It's just through our networking and through the people downstairs. We have a relationship with the social prescribers in that we actually refer people to social services when we see over a period of time. We have one lady whose name you probably know, but I won't mention it, who today is so poorly that she now can't walk from her house to here. And a few weeks ago we were that concerned about her. The care coordinator that we've got contacted social services and set up a package of care for her 4 times a day. And we're just keeping an eye on her. And that's the beauty about this with Sylvia and Norma and myself being here every week. You get to know when someone's not right, and you can see over a trend. And I suppose a lot of that, I've changed my way of thinking since I went on a mental health first aid course. It changed my concept of people, and I'm looking for changes in people, as is Sylvia, as is Norma. And we're lucky enough to have a decent bank of volunteers to help us, and they also feedback by phone with such and such isn't well, such and such has got a problem, we need to get this person to the hospital, etc., etc. So we've been able to use the community transport scheme like we used throughout the pandemic, if you remember. So there's a whole myriad of care, but not in the direct sense of we are not a daycare service, if that explains it. What we provide is from supposedly 10 till 1, but I opened the doors this morning at 9:20 and there were 2 already waiting to come in, which is fine. We make sure the heating's on, they've got warmth, a cup of tea, coffee, biscuits, whatever they want, right through to a hot 2-course lunch, which they've chosen themselves. Play bingo activities, we have chair activities as well. I didn't know why, when I first got involved with this, if there were 30 people sitting down for a meal, why were there 60 odd chairs out? And it was because where they play the games and the bingo and the cards, etc., is not where they eat, and it's the only time that they'll get them up, move to get a bit of activity and then back across. But we now do a weekly session of chair activities, and I've actually been coerced into demonstrating my prowess at four-wall electric slide line dance, so I shall be doing that and get one or two people that will do that. So it's something which is plateaued at about 25 to 30 people a week. The database is around 35, but of course at the ages that they're at, hospital appointments, holidays with children and grandchildren, etc. I first got heavily involved with Mansfield CVS around or just before the pandemic, when Mansfield CVS came to the fore through the Community Champions programme. It opened my eyes as to who else is out there, because we're all very tunnel visioned. All I got in my head was Forest Town, Kingsway Hall, lunch group, income generation, etc. We were then exposed to other community champions, and with our links through the Zoom meetings or Teams meetings, whichever they were on those, I don't know what they were, pulling together not just the other community champions, but other people that I'd never heard of, that were all part and parcel of the community sector, the third sector in effect, was an absolute eye-opener for us. We found that our shortfalls around the table are probably the same shortfalls that the other groups have had. We're all struggling for volunteers, we're all struggling for new trustees, we're all struggling to make sure that we get young blood coming through. For us to get those people, it's been an absolute dream to deal with Mansfield CVS, who have this beautiful network to farm out, and from their advertising has given us contacts for the volunteers that we so desperately needed, and has introduced us to other groups who were also looking to do the same sort of thing that we're doing. So we don't need to invent the wheel twice on certain things. I look on the model that we are at the end of a spoke on a wheel, and Mansfield CVS is the hub, and filtering through the hub back out to another group with similar outcomes and similar requirements, similar problems. There's a common theme coming out, and I'm sure that the infrastructure support that's going to be forthcoming, we're hoping, is going to enable us to concentrate on what we are good at, but bounce off what the others are doing. I had a visit out to another community centre. They then introduced me to a database at Notts County Council, which I had never heard of. And that's where we found our coordinator for the lunch group. Now, that would not have happened had we not been involved with Mansfield CVS and the links with the other community centres, charitable groups, etc. You also think outside the box, as I say it, as I call it. We all have the same common theme of funding is at the top of the issue, but it's more than that. It's things like, what else can we do to improve the days that these people come into the lunch group, for example? And we talked about a nice big visual aid for the bingo machine so that people can see that. And it's linking into different funders for that avenue. And of course, us here in Forest Town, because of the new estates that are being built around the area, we've been lifted out of the top 30% of deprivation. So when we get CRT coming to see us, We don't qualify now where we used to, but the deprivation is still there. So Mansfield CVS, working with them, has highlighted to me that there's more than one way to skin a cat, that we can look at alternative projects. One of the projects that came was thinking outside the box. What have we got that some of the others haven't? So we've got a very big car park. Why not look at the government grants that are available for installing electric charge points? Again, would never have heard of that had it not been for Mansfield CVS. So it's not just about bid writing. That is the norm in this game. We're very, very fortunate to have a building big enough to rent out rooms to subsidise the community stuff. But it's about getting that extra bit, the extra mile, the bit that's not normal. And that's where I think Mansfield CVS score, because they are not looking totally at the normal stuff. Well, what else is there? What else can we do? And for that, we're very grateful.